I know I have dominion over all things. This dominion is established through the mind. Thought is the activity that controls every principle beneath it. The highest principle of its superior essence and qualities determines the circumstances and relation to everything it contacts. Greater than physical power is the vibration of mental force. It is the finest and the most powerful in existence. I perceive the nature and transcendence of mental force. I'm looking at the universe with a lens of 5 senses, and from these experiences my conceptions begin. True conceptions are deeply secured with spiritual insight. This insight requires an acceleration of the vibration of mind, and is secured when the mind is continuously concentrated in a given direction. Continuous concentration in an even, focused flow of thought, with a patient, persistent, persevering, and well-regulated routine. Great discoveries are the result of long, continued investigation. The science of mathematics requires years of concentrated effort to master it, and the greatest science of the mind is revealed only through concentrated effort. Concentration is when I'm so interested in my thought, concentrating on my subject, and only conscious of that thought. Such concentration leads to intuitive perception and immediate insight into the nature of the object concentrated on. All knowledge is the result of concentration of this kind. It is how the mind becomes a magnet, and the desire to know draws the knowledge irresistibly to it and makes it my own. Desire is primarily subconscious. Subconscious desire arouses the faculties of the mind. The subconscious mind is aroused and brought into action in any direction and made to serve me for any purpose by concentration. The practice of concentration requires control of all modes of consciousness. The emotional, mental, and physical being is under focused control. Spiritual truth is the controlling factor that enables me to reach a point where I translate modes of thought into character and consciousness. Concentration is more than thinking of thoughts. It's a transmutation of these thoughts into practical values. It is with a complete self-confidence that my goal is reached. All mental discovery and attainment are the result of desire plus concentration. Desire is the strongest mode of action. The more persistent the desire, the more authoritative the revelation. Desire, added to concentration, will reveal any knowledge from source. In realizing great thoughts, in experiencing great emotions that correspond with great thoughts, the mind is in a state where it appreciates the value of higher things. The intensity of one moment's honest concentration for the intense longing to become and attain, I begin a realization of accomplishment and joy. The spirit of initiation and originality is developed through the persistence and continuity of mental effort. In business, I know the value of concentration and to encourage decision of character. I develop practical insight and quickness of conclusion. The mental element in every commercial pursuit is dominant as the controlling factor, and desire is the predominating force. All commercial desires are the externalization of relationship. Many virtues are developed with experience. The mind must be directed. It becomes efficient. The principle is the strengthening of the mind so that it rises above all distractions and impulses and successfully overcomes any conflict between the habitual self and the higher self. The mind is an engine whose power is waiting to be dreamed. Thought is an omni-working power. It is the ruler and creator of all form and all events occurring in form. Physical energy is small in comparison with the omnipotence of thought, because thought enables me to harness all other natural power. Vibration is the action of thought. It is vibration that reaches out and attracts the material necessary to construct and build. I have revealed the mysterious concerning the power of thought. Concentration is that consciousness, focused to the point where it becomes identified with the subject of its attention. Just as food absorbed is the essence of the body, so the mind absorbs the object of its attention, giving me life and being. I concentrate on a matter of importance. The intuitive power will be set in motion, and help comes in the nature of information, then leads to success in action. Intuition arrives at conclusions without the aid of experience or memory. Intuition often solves problems that are beyond the grasp of reasoning power. Intuition often comes suddenly. It reveals the truth of what I'm searching for so directly it seems to come from a higher power. Intuition can be cultivated and developed. Intuition usually comes in in silence. Great minds seek solitude frequently. It is here that all the large issues of life are worked out. For this reason, I may need a private space where I'll find quiet, somewhere familiar, to be alone a few minutes each day, to train the thought that will enable me to develop that invincible power necessary to achieve. Remember that fundamentally the subconscious is all-powerful, omnipotent. There is no limit to the things that can be done when it is given the power to act. My degree of success is determined by the nature of my desire. If the nature of my desire is in harmony with natural law or the universal mind, it enables the mind to give me invincible courage. Every obstacle challenged and every victory gained will give me more faith in my power, with a greater ability to win. My strength is determined by my mental attitude. This attitude is one of success. It is permanently held with a focused purpose. I will attract to myself from the invisible domain all I silently demand. By keeping the thought in mind, it will gradually take tangible form. A definite purpose sets causes into motion that goes into the invisible world and finds the material necessary to serve my purpose. When thought leads outwardly in evolutionary directions, it can be turned within to take hold of the basic principles of things, the heart of things, the spirit of things. When I get to the heart of things, those things become easy to understand and command. For courage, I concentrate on courage. For abundance, I concentrate on abundance. For great health, I concentrate on great health. Always, I concentrate on the ideal as an already existing fact. This is the life principle that goes forth and sets in motion those causes that guide, direct, and bring about the necessary relationship that eventually manifests in form. Every living thing must be sustained by its omnipotent intelligence. And I find the difference in individual lives to be largely measured by the degree of this intelligence as they manifest. It is a greater intelligence that places the animal in a higher scale of being than the plant, the human higher than the animal. And I find that this increased intelligence is again indicated by the power of the individual to control programs of action and then to consciously adjust themselves to their environment. And for me, that I can consciously adjust myself to my environment. It is this adjustment that occupies the attention of the greatest minds, and this adjustment consists in the recognition of an existing order in the universal mind. I know that this mind will obey me in exact proportion that I obey it. It is the recognition of natural laws that has enabled people to alter time and space, to soar through the air and rocket to planets and beyond. With a greater degree of intelligence, the greater I will have recognition of these natural laws, and the greater power I possess. It is the recognition of the self as an individualization of this universal intelligence that enables the individual to control forms of intelligence, to reach the level of self-recognition. This universal intelligence permeates all things, ready to be called into action and responsive to every demand. Thought is creative, and the principle that the law is based on is sound and legitimate and is inherent in the nature of things. This creative power originates in the universal. That is the source and the foundation of all energy and substance. The individual is simply a channel for the distribution of this energy. The individual is the means for the universal to produce the various combinations that result in the formation of phenomena. That also depends upon the law of vibration, whereby various rates of motion in the primary substance form new substances in certain exact numerical ratios. Thought is the invisible link that communicates with the universal, the finite with the infinite, the seen with the unseen. Thought is the magic for me to transform into being as I think and then feel and then know and act upon my desire.
As the proper apparatus has enabled the eye to discover worlds light years away, also with the proper understanding, I am able to communicate with the universal mind,
the source of all power.
Understanding is developed from knowing. So with understanding, I am continually making progress in the methods I use to come into communication with the universal mind and its infinite possibilities.
The universal mind manifests in the objective.
Through the principle of attraction, vibration that has infinite degrees of intensity. It is by this principle of combining and attracting that things are brought together. This principle of universal application is the purpose of existence carried into effect. The expression of growth is met in the most beautiful manner through the instrument of this universal principle. In order to grow, I must obtain what is essential for my growth. I am a complete thought entity. This completeness makes it possible for me to receive as I give. Growth is the condition of reciprocal action, and I find that on the mental plane, like attracts like. Mental vibrations respond to the extent of my vibratory harmony. It is clear that thoughts of abundance will respond to similar thoughts. The wealth of the individual is exactly this way.
Affluence in thought is the method of attracting for affluence. The ability to produce is the real source of wealth in the individual.
It is for this reason that one who has their heart in their work is certain to meet with success. I will give and continually give, and the more I give, the more I will receive. Thought is the energy that the law of attraction brings into operation and eventually manifests abundance.
The universal mind is static substance in balance.
It is created into form by my power to think. Thought is the dynamic phase of mind. The use of this power depends upon attraction. The degree of attraction determines my capacity for acquiring knowledge.
Attention has been held to be the distinguishing element of genius.
The cultivation of attention depends on practice. The motivation of attention is interest. The greater the interest, the greater the attention.
The greater the attention, the greater the interest, action, and reaction.
Begin by paying attention. Before long, I will have aroused interest. This interest will attract more attention, and this attention will produce more interest, and so on. This practice will enable me to cultivate the power of attention. Now I concentrate on my power to create.
Seek insight and focused perception.
Find the logical basis for the faith in myself. Let the thought hold on the fact that the physical lives and moves and is being. I breathe to live. Then let the thought rest on the fact that my spirit also lives and moves.
It is my being in a similar yet subtler energy that I depend on for life.
In the physical world, I assumed form. After a seed was sown, there I am.
Fear is a powerful form of thought. It paralyzes the nerve centers, thus affecting the circulation of the body. This in turn paralyzes the muscular system, so that fear affects the entire being, body, brain, and nerves. Physical, emotional, and mental.
The way to overcome fear is to become conscious of my vital force. It is a primary force that manifests through living bodies, and that by complying with the laws and principles I can open myself to a more abundant flow of this vital energy and express the highest possible degree of mental, moral, and spiritual efficiency. A very simple way to develop this vital force I put into practice with information and develop the sense of power that is the distinguishing mark of genius. Source is energy, is God, is spirit. Source is the creative principle of the universe. I am made in the image and the likeness of Source. I am then a creative being.
The only activity spirit possesses is the power to think.
Thinking is a creative process. All form is the result of thinking process.
Apparent representation of form is the result of creative power of thought. Spiritualism, invention, organization, and constructive work of all kinds are the results of creative power of thought as a concentration. When the creative power of thought is manifested for the benefit of humanity, the result is prosperous. This indicates the result of right thinking, the creative process. Thought precedes and predetermines action. Action precedes and predetermines condition.
If I always think as I have always thought, I will always get as I've always got.
In seeking the truth, I am seeking the ultimate cause.
I know that every experience is an effect. Personal experience is no longer the game of fate. I am the child of destiny. Fate, fame, and fortune are controlled with ease. In the mental world, I speak of knowledge and ignorance. Ignorance is a lack of knowledge. It is simply the word to express absence of knowledge and has no principle in itself. In the moral world, I speak of good and evil.
Good is a reality, something tangible.
While evil is found to be simply the negative condition, the absence of good.
Evil is sometimes thought to be a very real condition.
Yet it has no principle, no vitality, no life.
I know this because it can always be destroyed by good.
Just as truth destroys ignorance,
and light destroys darkness.
so evil vanishes when good appears.
There is one principle in the moral world.
I find exactly the same law in the spiritual world. I speak of mind and matter as two separate entities.
Clearer insight makes it evident that there is one operative principle, and that is mind. Mind is the real and the eternal. Matter is forever changing. I am in the presence of continual change.
And I know this change is the evolution of the universal mind, the grand process of all things continually being created. And I come to know that matter is the form that mind takes and is simply a condition. Matter has no principle. Mind is the only principle. I come to know that mind is the only principle operating in the physical, mental, moral, and spiritual worlds. I also know this mind is static, the mind at rest. I also know the ability of the individual to think is the ability to act upon the universal mind and convert into dynamic mind or mind in motion. In order to do this, fuel must be applied in the form of food. I must eat to fuel my physical energy.
A spiritual activity, such as thinking, needs material means to be converted into sources of pleasure and profit.
It requires energy of some kind
To collect electricity and convert it into dynamic power. It requires the rays of the sun to give necessary energy to sustain plant life.
It also requires energy in the form of food to enable the individual to think, then act on the universal mind. I know that thought consistently and eternally is taking form, always seeking expression. When my thought is powerful, constructive, and positive, this is evident in my health, my business, and my environment. Wealth is the offspring of power. Possessions are valued as it demonstrates power. Events are significant only as they affect power. All things represent certain forms and degrees of power. Power governs the physical world. There is also mental power, and there is moral and spiritual power.
A knowledge of cause and effect are shown by the laws governing electricity and gravity. These laws are called natural laws. This power is superior because it exists on a higher plane, because it has enabled me to discover that the laws of nature could be harnessed and made to do work of hundreds, maybe thousands of people.
It has enabled me to discover laws of time and space, gravitation, and electromagnetism. I know that light travels at the rate of 86,000 miles per second, and I know that there are stars so remote that it takes light thousands of years to reach me. This light comes in waves. This substance, or ether, on these waves is continuous. For the light to reach me, the conclusion that this substance, or ether, is universally present. In electrical science, the battery is formed by connecting the opposite poles of zinc and copper. This causes a current to flow from one to the other and provides energy. This same process is repeated in respect to every polarity, and as all forms simply depend on the rate of vibration and consequent relations of atoms to each other, if I wish to change the form of manifestation, I must change the polarity. This is the principle of causation. The essence of a thing is that thing. It is necessarily fixed, changeless, and eternal. The spirit of me is me. I need spirit to be. Thought becomes active through my recognition of it as possibilities. I have all the wealth in the world as I recognize it and make use of its value. With my spiritual wealth, I recognize its value. The one condition on spiritual transmutation is recognition. All great things come through recognition. My consciousness and thought is my messenger, constantly molding the realities of the invisible world into the conditions and environments of my desired objective world. Thinking is the true business of life. Power is the result. I'm always dealing with my magical powers of thought and consciousness. The secret of power is a perfect understanding of the principles, forces, methods, and combinations of mind, and a perfect understanding of my relationship to the universal mind.
It is right to remember that this principle is reliable.
This stability is my opportunity.
I am its active attribute, the channel for its activity. The universal can only act through the individual.
When I begin to perceive that the essence of the universal is within me, is me, I begin to feel my power. It is the fuel that fires the imagination, that lights the torch of inspiration, that gives vitality to thought, that enables me to connect with all the invisible forces of the universe. It is this power that will enable me to plan masterfully.
Perception will come in the silence. This is the condition required for all great purposes.
I am a visualizing entity. Imagination is my workshop. It is here that my ideal is to be visualized. A perfect understanding of the nature of this power is a condition of manifestation. I visualize the entire method over and over again so that I may use it when I want it. The infinity of wisdom is to follow the method. When I have the inspiration of the omnipotent universal mind on demand at any time, I must recognize the ideas consciously. Thought is the basic fact of all existence. When I recognize mind in myself, in all persons, events, things, and circumstances, I have the fulfillment that is the best design. This power of thought, understood and correctly used, is the greatest labor-saving device ever dreamed of. By the help of this power, I will confidently do, because this power is the foundation of all inspiration and all genius. Inspired means to take in spirit. When I come into recognition of the unity of all things and that the source of all power is within, I tap the source of inspiration. Inspiration develops the art of self-realization, the art of adjusting the individual mind to the universal mind, the art of attaching the proper mechanism to the source of all power, the art of changing the formless into form,
the art of realizing the omnipresence, the everywhere, every when, all-dimensional and omniscient, all-being, all-knowing of the omnipotent, all-power, pure energy, omniversal source. That is the everything.
An understanding and appreciation of that fact that the infinite power is omnipresent and therefore the infinitely small as well as the infinitely large will enable me to absorb its essence. A further understanding of the fact that this power is spirit and also united will enable me to appreciate its presence at all points at the same time. An understanding of these facts, first intellectually and then emotionally, will enable me to drink deeply from this ocean of infinite power. The emotions must be brought into action. The required combination is thought, feeling, words, and action.
Inspiration is from within. The silence is necessary. The senses must be stilled. The muscles relaxed. Repose developed. When I come into possession of a sense of posture and power, I will be ready to receive the information or inspiration or wisdom that is necessary for the development of my purpose.
Inspiration is the art of receiving and makes the best in life. My business in life is to understand and command these invisible forces. Power implies service. Inspiration implies power. To understand and apply the method of inspiration is to become a superior self. I can live more abundantly every time I breathe. I consciously breathe with the intention. The will is a very important condition in this case,
as the intention governs the attention.
The attention will secure the results. That is a supply equal to the demand. In order to secure the larger supply, my demand must be increased. As I consciously increase the demand, the supply will follow. I will find myself coming into a larger and larger supply of life, energy, and vitality. Is easy to understand and is another vital fact of life. When I make it on my own, I will find one of the great realities of life. I am told that in it I live and move and have my being. I am told that it is a spirit, and again, it is love. So that every time I breathe this life, love and spirit.
This is energy or ether.
I exist in every moment with it. It is the cosmic energy. It is the life of the solar plexus. Every time I breathe, I fill my lungs with air. At the same time, vitalize my body with this ether that is life. It is so that I have the opportunity to make a conscious connection with all life, all intelligence, and all substance. A knowledge of my relation and oneness with the principle that governs the universe and the simple method I can consciously identify myself with it gives me a scientific understanding of a law that will free myself from all disease or a limitation of all kind. In fact, it enables me to breathe the breath of life into my nostrils. This breath of life is the superconscious reality. It is the essence of the I am. It is the pure being or universal substance, and my conscious unity with it enables me to localize it and exercise the powers of this creative energy. Thought is creative vibration. The quality of the condition created will depend on the quality of my thought. I must be, then I can do, and I can do to the extent that I am.
And so what I do will coincide with what I am.
And what I am depends on what I think. Every time I think, I start a motion of causation
that will create a condition in strict accordance with the quality of the thought to originate it.
Thought that is in harmony with the universal mind will result in corresponding conditions. I must use thought constructively. I am free to use this marvelous creative power as I will, and I must be responsible for the consequences. In me, my being lives and moves. I am literally and scientifically exact.
I am because I am omnipresent and I must be. I am spirit and I am made in the image and likeness.
I know that the universe is governed by law, that for every effect there must be a cause, and the same cause under the same conditions will invariably produce the same effect. I accept that laws govern electricity, mathematics, and chemistry. There are also spiritual laws, and these laws are also definite.
Prayer is always answered. When the proper conditions are complied with, it will be true. The answer to prayer is subject to the law, and this law is definite, exact, and scientific, just as laws governing gravity and electricity. An understanding of this law takes the foundation of spirituality out of the realm of superstition and places it on the firm foundation of scientific understanding. Opportunity follows perception. Action follows inspiration. Growth follows knowledge.
Always spiritual first, then transformation to the infinite possibilities of achievement. I know that prosperity weaves itself into the entire fabric of my existence, that the law of success is service. I get what I give for this reason. I can consider it a great privilege to be able to give. I have found that thought is the creative action behind every constructive enterprise. I will give the most practical value to my thoughts. Creative thought requires attention, and the power of attention is, as I know, the power of the superhero. The attention develops concentration, and concentration develops spiritual power, and spiritual power is the mightiest force of existence.
This is the knowledge that embraces all knowledge. It is the art of all arts. In the mastery of this science and this art, there is opportunity for constant progression. Perfection in this is the labor of life. It is inevitable that the entertainment of positive, constructive thoughts have far-reaching effect for good.
Compensation is the pleasure of the universe.
Nature is constantly seeking a balance. Where something is sent out, something must be received. My results equal my intention. I find that the secret of success, the method of the master manifester, and the achievement of the victory is by thinking big thoughts. The art of realizing the omnipresence, the everywhere, everywhen, all-dimensional, and omniscience, all-being and all-knowing, of omnipotent, all-power, pure energy, is collectively the omniversal source. All dimensions, all beings, all everything. The source.